start recording this. Um, it would be great before we get started to hear what your interest is. If you feel comfortable sharing, Jean and Susan, why you joined. If not, no problem, but that would help us in our remarks. So if either one of you, Susan, looks like you're unmuting.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah,
Oh,
well, I
Susan,
was
you're
attracted to
Susan.
the title, Wildfire Rebuild. So I just wanted to see what was on your agenda and what new information
Awesome.
is
Okay, great.
coming out probably out of LA.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining. Jean, what brings you here?
Well, it's my great pleasure. I'm a little jet lagged. I'm in France right now,
Oh, wow.
but it's just 4 days back from LA, where I met you, Steve, at the Altadena showcase. I don't know if you recall that, but and then subsequently I have toured the Plant Prefab with my architectural partner. Your facility, which was stunning, I must say, and my interest has been in the built environment from a point of view of regenerative, what we call a regenerative architectural approach. Um, my personal background has been in information technology and some focused ecological efforts for many years. But my family, having been affected by the fires, brought me down from our Bay Area uh, office to focus on approaching housing from a factory built and from modular perspective. And it was certainly very interesting. And especially when combined with the um, daunting aspects of uh, recovery associated with more than 10,000 structures burning all at once in Altadena. So that was my interest is in actually meeting the requirements of change that'll be necessary to meet the demand for California and for housing in general, utilizing new innovative means, but also mindful and inspired design. And so I'm here tonight because our architectural interests, which come out of um, sort of Usonian and Dymaxian sort of philosophy, to tell you the truth. Um, I'm associated with the Buckminster Fuller Institute and some other things, but I will say that um, the interface between design and architecture in this daunting challenge, sort of existentially threatening climate challenge, is um, a big a big lift for makers and for designers. In my view, we have to focus there in the supply chain, get innovative, and utilize kinds of systems that Plant Prefab has done. Our people have worked on this for a while. We've had people at Create Modular, at Factory OS, and others. So we've been in the game a little bit, but that's why I'm here. I hope that gives you an idea.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. And then I see Mark Wilkerson. Anything you'd like to share about what brings you here? Okay, no problem. Um, I'm Susan and Jean, I know you know about plant, so I don't feel like I have to kind of share anything. I don't want to waste anybody's time. If either of you or Mark, you want to hear our spiel, happy to do it. But otherwise, would love to allow Christopher to tell you about the great work that he's doing, and particularly with us. So I'll pause there. Anyone want to hear the plant thing?
I always hear more, but I know I understand you guys, but Susan and Mark and Jean, if you've already understand it all, I don't want to waste anyone's time
Yeah,
either.
Mark actually sent a chat that he'd like to hear it. So let me
Okay.
just say briefly, and then I'm happy to share a video of what we do. We're kind of unique in the prefab world. Most prefab companies are product companies, and they have specific kind of home, specific dimension, finishes, et cetera, that they sell. Mobile homes are the biggest category in prefab. They're big public companies like Clayton and Clayton's huge, but it's not public. But Champion Skyline and Cavco that sell low cost modular or mobile homes. Um, we're different. We started in order to provide customized solutions. So our founding focus was to work with architects like Christopher on high quality, sustainable, client resilient custom projects. And uh, towards that end, we employ a hybrid building system. So we use both panels and modules. Now that's very unusual. Any prefab company sort of could hear of in the US at least does one or the other, modules or panels. They both have some advantages and some challenges. Modules are great because you can come to a site really complete. So all finished plumbing, electrical, and millwork installed, and tiles grouted, and appliances installed, paint and drywall. So you can save a lot of time, potentially money, because we do it in a controlled facility in parallel to the site work. But modules have a lot of redundant structures, and there are very real limitations and challenges with transport and install that require you to think about your design because of the redundant structure and some of the dimensions there. So sometimes, particularly the multifamily folks, have to reduce unit count or or square footage in order to accommodate. Christopher absolutely has had to make some design decisions with modules in mind. Panels, no redundant structure. You have much greater design flexibility. And they ship flat, way more efficient to ship and install, but more work shifts on site. So we do both. And we work with architects like Christopher. We look at the design, we look at the transportation and installation logistics, we look at schedule, we look at budget, and we figure out what's the best way to do this based on all that. Sometimes it's all panels, sometimes it's all modules, and in many cases, particularly for the single family projects we're doing, it's a hybrid approach that combines modules, particularly for kitchens, baths, utility cores, expensive parts of the project to build, and panels for areas that don't require complex electrical or plumbing or millwork. Um, we have the only facility in the US purpose-built to do both. It's in Arvin, California, so about 20 miles south of Bakersfield, right off the five. It's a 270,000 square foot, $40 million facility. And that allows us to produce panels with automation and modules. You're welcome to visit. We have weekly tours. So that's a quick spiel about us. Why don't later, if we have time, I'm happy to show. We've got a great 2-minute video you can do online, but I really want to get to Christopher because, as I said, he's the guest of honor today, and you'll hear about the work they're doing, and then we'll do Q&A. And again, if there's time, we can do a quick video tour. So Christopher, thank you so much for joining. I should share, we just signed our third project with him, and really excited to work with you. Please.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the great introduction. And just to say something about Steve, I've been following Steve for as long as he's been doing this, which is almost as long as I've been doing my career. And his care and passion for finding efficiencies in this custom world, and which led him to building this factory in Arvin, which we visited. It's a fabulous factory, using Weissman robotics to make panels and cutting the pieces. And it's just really all the factories that I visited, the cleanliness, the precision, the thoughtfulness, using the digital twin bin technology, the actually caring for architecture, which is not common in this industry. Most, as Steve mentioned, a lot of the large companies. I mean, there's like about 350 plus or minus companies in the U.S. that do modular, and most of them are set up. People think trailer parks, prefabricated concrete bathrooms, most kind of industrial type commercial applications, which aren't really sexy, but keep costs low and speed high. But Steve got into this space years ago when no one was really doing it. I mean, architects, we really, all believed in it. We understood it, but we don't control the money. We're not the developer. And in many cases, we're not the builder. We just happen to be a general contractor, and we work for a lot of developers. So we really understand the holistic costs, and we, really early believers in this, but there's many reasons that it hasn't taken hold as much as it has. I mean, it's really fascinating. You look over 100 years ago, and you look at pioneers like Henry Ford and people like this. Henry Ford wasn't the first one that built a car. He wasn't the first one that manufactured a car. But what he did is he perfected the manufacturing of an automobile. And what he did is he allowed the automobile to be mass produced, and the average person could buy one, and hence we have the society today. Same thing with even Steve Jobs. You look at Steve Jobs. I mean, he wasn't the first one to come up with the mobile phone. He wasn't the first one to produce a smartphone. I mean, there was a lot of smart technologies, but by harnessing the design and the build and putting it all together into a seamless package, he was able to create something that far surpassed anything that anyone had done to date, and hence it revolutionized the planet. And everyone knows they have a cell phone in their pocket, even if they understand or don't understand technology. Our lives have been ever changed by it. So what Steve's doing there in Arvin with this plant is really commendable, and we really we have kind of shared interest and shared vision, and it's really exciting to have. I wouldn't call Steve an industrialist. You're I don't know what to call you. You're a bit of an inventor, kind of bringing these packages together and really bringing this to the architectural design community to create better buildings. Because ultimately, we all deserve to be in beautiful buildings, and the world should be beautiful around us. We spend so much of our time living, eating, breathing, sleeping, and working and teaching and learning in buildings. That buildings should be gorgeous. They should be beautiful. His other company, Living Homes, that helps design, bringing that full package of design to build is fabulous. And so working with partners that have shared mind and shared thoughts is really refreshing, and it's really nice to partner up with companies like Steve's that really is supportive of what architects and designers are trying to create. So I have a small little presentation that I can go through, just some photos. Of course, architects, we love to communicate in pictures. I'll go through some of our work. We've been in business for about 30 years. As I mentioned, we're an architect. We do interiors. We're a licensed general contractor. We permit our own projects, and we also design and build furniture, and we import a lot. So we're also a shared mind of how to bring the cost of custom construction down. Custom construction is astronomically expensive. We're doing a lot of fire. We have about 20 projects in the office right now. Most of them are fire rebuilds in Malibu. For the last 30 years, we've gone through a lot of fire cycles in the Santa Monica Malibu mountains, and as everyone knows, there's almost 16,000 destroyed and 13,000 completely devastated structures. And so we're one of the hundreds of architects that are helping to rebuild these areas. We focus on Malibu specifically, and up in the Palisades. We're doing a series of 7 beach homes. As Steve had mentioned, We're in pre-design with Steve on three of them. We have 4 approvals already, and they're up on these giant caissons floating 27 foot above the ocean. And beach homes are one of many types of structures that are perfectly suited for modules. As Steve mentioned, for each of these beach homes, they're about 3,000, 3,500 square foot, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 2-car garage is kind of the typical, and 6 mods each. So the prefab boxes, like big Legos, and then the garages are being panelized, and some other elements, we have some panels. So it's a nice hybrid approach and the nice thing, like Steve mentioned with his factory, is you can do both. We don't have to work with 2 different factories and manage and balance that work. Steve and his team, they basically are helping us figure out what the best optimization is for our projects. And so it's really kind of come down to 6 actual prefabricated, fully integrated modules with the bathrooms, kitchens, cabinets, everything installed, tile, cabinets, fixtures, finishes, etc. And then yeah, we're just gonna pour the slab for the garage, and then wrap that in the panels that his company can provide. So that's kind of on that. Why don't I just these first few images, not all these houses are necessarily prefabricated, but I'm just going to go through them. Even when houses are somewhat conventionally built, there's a lot of elements in the house that we do panelize and or have prefabricated off-site. Typical conventional homes, obviously everyone knows cabinets are basically a prefabricated modular element. They're small and easy. That's very common. And no one builds cabinets on site anymore. Of course, doors and windows aren't built on site anymore. Those are all, modular prefabricated components, as everyone knows. That's been for decades. That has been the way of construction. But more and more, prefabricated stairs, prefabricated finish panels, as many elements as we can, and then of course we'll show you the projects we're working on with Steve, the beach houses where the whole mods are done. And then we'll show you another fire rebuild in Malibu from the Woolsey fire that we had done 10 modules, 5,000 square foot. And I'll show it to you, and you're probably not going to recognize it as a prefab house, and I'll describe that. So I'll just kind of go through these images pretty quickly, just so you get a taste of the type of design we do. And then we can have questions and answers at the end. This is a house in Santa Monica Canyon. This actually was a fire build we finished some years ago. Prefabricated stair. This is another house out in Malibu up on the bluff. There were certain prefabricated elements on this house as well. This is the bridge house. We originally conceptualized this as a 30 by 30 pods, and we were going to build it prefabricated. Unfortunately, the client was a developer owner, and his builder that he was working with wasn't supportive of it. Unfortunately, one of the things with builders is if they don't fully understand it, and sometimes they feel like it's taking work away from them by putting these projects into a factory, and it's taking labor away from a lot of their subcontractors. So, that's one of the reasons why it's easy for us to convince the clients, because we are also the builder. We fully understand all the efficiencies that modular and prefabrication can afford a project. This, believe it or not, this was a fire rebuild. This burnt down in the fire. There was modular elements to this, and we just finished this project about a year ago. This was another home up off of Bel Air. The fire came very close to igniting this house. It came within 10 feet of the house. It was not a fire rebuild, but we learned a lot through that process. We do a lot of custom, this is a custom prefabricated stair, all the steel elements. We realized the more elements that can be built off-site and be brought into site, the better. Building in a controlled factory, you can use CNC machines, special panelization cutting machines, punch press labor. There's so many different elements that can be built offsite. So whenever we can have something built offsite and brought in, that saves time and money for the clients. This is another project we did. All these finished panels. Of course, as everyone knows, doors and major doors and elements. We imported all this. So we had 14 shipping containers coming in from all over the world to bring this house together, all prefabricated panelized elements. This is one of our first beach houses. This modular overhangs, etc. This was, believe it or not, this was Brad Pitt's house. He was a big believer in prefabricated modular. He was a great client, and this was a house he had bought, and he originally hired us to help him with. This was affected by the fire. The Woolsey fire basically blew out. This is the remodel that we did, but the Woolsey fire blew out all the glass and consumed the whole interior of the home. Luckily, this house was originally built with prefabricated concrete panels and a roof system and columns, so the structure withstood the brunt of that fire. So we were able to rebuild it, and those are all automated doors, and turned out beautiful. It's floating above the bluff on PCH, about 100 foot up. It's another shot. This is the prefabrication that came in from the original owner. We weren't the original architect or builder, but just shows you this was an old historic photo. That's a civil engineer. He built his house, and Brad Pitt bought it and then hired us to do work with him. This was the prefab modular. This was a fire burnout from the Woolsey fire. That was the fire that happened, I think it's 7.5 years now. That was in, I believe it was November of 2019, right before COVID. This was for a developer client of ours. This was their own personal home. As you can see, it doesn't look modular. This was 10 prefabricated modules. And then this element right here, which is the living room, the limit on mods in general, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but in general is about 10-foot ceilings. Most average ceilings in buildings that people are aware of are about 8 foot. So this is 2 foot taller than an average ceiling. So for the kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms, living rooms, etc., they're all 10 foot. And then basically the mods set up like a courtyard, but then the living room, the client wanted much taller. And so the kitchen module, this was the kitchen module. This was the bathroom module right here. It's like a little trapezoid. And then the roof could be panelized, and then we glazed. Obviously windows and doors come prefabricated. Those get set. The glazer comes in and sets these. And we had a steel awning prefabricated off site, and that got installed on site. But the construction really happened much faster. So when you want something that doesn't look like just a bunch of boxes coming together, because that's one of the negatives that some people have in their mind. They think trailer parks, they think just a big boxy house. Usually that's because of poor design or maybe some other constraints. But as a design architect at our core, we believe prefabrication doesn't have to be not beautiful. Obviously every car, can you imagine manufacturing a car by hand, designing every car and trying to manufacture a car by hand? It costs $10 million a car. So prefabrication of cars and automobiles, the perfection of the manufacturing of automobiles allows us to buy cars for, a Tesla high-end, most cutting edge piece of technology for $35,000. It's pretty amazing. Why are we not doing that for houses? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'm sure Steve can share with you. I can also share with you. But it's kind of like when we start telling people, like, why doesn't everyone do modular and prefabrication? We're kind of like, good question. Then we go through the list of reasons. They're more excuses, but but again, we can talk more about that if anyone's interested. But this house turned out really beautiful. This house is worth about $10 million, so it doesn't really detract from ultimately the valuation of property. Just so you know, when you sell a house, you don't have to disclose how the house was built. With trailer parks, because they're on impermanent foundations and permitted differently, the financing is different. So there's a little bit of different valuation with trailer park homes. So that's why modular and prefab gets a bad rap. But with custom architecture, which Steve's factory specializes in, and he works with architects like us and many fabulous architects, Toby, and he has a long list on his website. Ray Cappy, one of the first architects that did some of Steve's projects, is just an amazing architect and human being. He's no longer, but his son Ray thin is still working, but architects know that prefab can be beautiful, and when given the chance, uh, us architects create beautiful structures through prefabrication, and they do not need to look like a modular house. So this is one. Let me go through a few more here. Um, this is another fire rebuild in Malibu. We're just about to pull the permit on. A couple other shots. This is a little video. Let's see if this video works. It's a little AI video we created for this project. And then let's see. This is a house. Usually modular blocks. There's elements of this house. We didn't use modules, but there's a lot of elements of prefabrication on this. Again, we worked with the developer. This house sold for over $6 million. It doesn't detract from the value of the house. Pulling the window and door systems all the way back, etc. This is another fire rebuild that we're doing right now. And here's another little video we did for the client to here's one we just signed with Steve to start pre-design on. We have already approvals through Malibu. If anyone knows, Malibu is probably one of the most difficult jurisdictions to build and get approved in. And so this was a beach house, 3,700 square foot, modern for our client. Here's another project we're just about to pull permits on. There's another beach house we're working on with Steve. We were just in an exhibit side by side with Steve here in LA through one of the universities that was co-sponsoring it. We're just about to submit. We already have our initial approval through the city of Malibu and just about to submit for the building permit. And so we're working with Steve on this one as well. There's some interior shots of that other house, prefabricated modules coming through, big atrium because we're doubling up on the top module, so we're stacking, and we can, I can explain more detail if anyone's interested. It's one of our first beach houses floating above the water. Here's another little. This house is another. This will probably more likely be panelized. This is 3 stories with a pool. Another fire rebuild beach house as well. Here's another little video for this one. This kind of gives a client a little vision of how it's going to come together. Another fire rebuild right side by side of that other prefab modular we did. We're working on this for a developer. We already have approvals on this through the planning department. Here's another rendering of that house. This is another house on the bluff on PCH. Elements of this will be prefabricated. Unfortunately, this particular house, the logistics of the driveway and the spacing, it just unfortunately didn't work to make the modular prefab. But there's possibility that we're going to be doing some panelization. And Steve, we haven't spoke about this, but this one we'll be getting permits. We have our some initial approvals from the city, but we'll be getting our permits shortly with that one. As a beach house from the producer of Friends TV show. If anyone's ever seen that, he's one of the original creators. This is his house in Malibu. It's another bluff top house we did for a developer client. This was another shot of that house on the hill, 30 by 30 modules. There was elements of prefabrication on this one. It was not modular. There were some panels that we brought in on this one. But there's a lot of custom construction, but just to give you a taste of other projects that we do here in the office. Of course, stairs. We love to prefabricate stairs. They're perfect steel stairs. This was a 3-foot tread at the bottom, 10-foot tread at the top, called the Nautilus stair. This is one of our really special stairs we did, but all prefabricated. Little guest house element we did. another shot of the stair and railings. So anyway, that just gives you a taste of who we are and some of our design work, and so you get a sense of who we are. But yeah, I can. That's our presentation. I can kind of open up to question and answers. If anyone wants to discuss any specific elements of what you saw.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christopher. Wow. I mean, what an incredible body of work. And we're really honored to be working with you on three homes.
Thanks, Steve.
And hopefully many more. So, yeah, as Christopher said, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. Please either just speak up or Mark, sounds like you have to type, but
I have a question.
you're available. Yeah.
By the way, just incredible work. My family is a Malibu family. One of our family members lost a home there, and in
All right.
our and my children's family happily survived the fire, the Palisades, both the Woolsey and Palisades fire. Of course, it changed our lives just to have gone through the um, process of imagining having to rebuild. But these are beautiful homes, and thank you for making my family's community a better place.
Yeah, thank you.
Build back better, obviously.
Yes.
So my question is about a little bit about that. I'll ask one question now, and that is, in building back better, how are you approaching fire resistance and material science in your engineering and design together as a design builder and then in construction? This is, in my view, one of the most difficult aspects. I'm a friend of Bill McDonough's, by the way, and I'm interested in circularity as well, but I'd be interested in your approach to the fire resistant aspects of the builds.
Yeah, very good question. We get that a lot. And surprisingly, the codes have not really changed in relation to fire hardening, believe it or not. There's a lot of suggestions and standards that have been updated by many organizations. Maybe, Steve, you know a little bit more about it than us, but I'm really surprised at how the codes have not hardened more. I think as architects and builders, we we have hardened our thoughts about design. And I remind our staff and all of our teams that codes are basically the bare minimum standard to build toward for life safety. So they're actual bare minimum. Obviously, you see the homes we're doing. These homes by no means are considered bare minimum by any measure. So what do we do? What are we doing? Very good question. Every fire, unfortunately, after 30 years, we've gone through many, and we get more and more sensitive, more and more attuned to these fire codes. I mean, when I was a young architect coming out of school, it was all about design, design, design. I'd come up against these codes, and as an architect, I didn't fully understand it. And now, after 3 decades of working on it, I really do get it. So, of course, things like cement plaster, which are pretty inherent to California architecture. I mean, you're basically putting a coating of cement on the outside that's typically 7/8 inch. So if you thicken, that gives you a nice 1 hour rating. If you thicken that cement up a bit, you put dense glass underneath it, that definitely improves the fire rating. So that's one of the things that we're implementing. You know, not having being very thoughtful about overhangs. You can see this particular house, we do have some overhangs. This is steel over here and metal. That's helpful. These little other overhangs are metal. So that's also another thing. The one thing the city of Malibu does do is it makes you, it has very strict guidelines regarding fuel modification, which hasn't changed, but is also part of building in these higher urban hazard areas, which is keeping big trees and landscaping away from the building. Any landscaping that's close to the building has to be heavily irrigated. So again, keeping the fuel away from the buildings. Of course, we all love nature, and we love trees and we love nature, but really being sensitive on this property. When it burnt down, there was probably 10 eucalyptus trees, and they go up like candelabras. The oils are very combustible, and these trees got kind of torched, and so they all had to get cut down. So it's sad in one sense because you're cutting down a forest of eucalyptus. At the other sense, that does harden. So that is kind of the hard juxtaposition. You working in natural areas. We love it, and we're there because of the nature. And we want to be connected to plants. At the same time, plants can be, you know, fuel for fires. The one thing to consider when you stay indigenous, meaning using plants that are native to California, one of our projects, this project, the fire hit this and torched the house in Woolsey. And then during our design phase, Palisades fire came last year, and there's an oak grove at the bed. There's a big ravine and blue water stream at the bottom of this. This is a 3-acre parcel. And Steve, this is really interesting. We found out the oak grove in the back effectively acted as a fire break, because I guess I don't fully understand the science of it, but I guess the oil in the leaves of the oak and the thickness of the bark around the oak trees is very fire hard. It's probably why the oak trees survive and they become so old, because they can survive these fires. So there was a whole oak grove in the back, and basically the fire came down the hill, up the ravine, hit the oak grove, and basically stopped, which was kind of fascinating. We also had a lot of succulent. There was a lot of succulents, and the succulents got a little torched, but because of all the gel inside the leaves, they survived. So working with plantings like that, and of course you can see for the rendering we put the plants. These are all going to be kind of like succulent and drought tolerant. I think this particular rendering might have we used some grasses, so we probably are going to modify those a bit. But most of the trees are on the property are oaks. So planting oaks or keeping oaks, which are also protected, are very fire hard. On the roofs, we are definitely on all of our flat roofs putting gravel. It is not required. You can just put a TPO or a PVC roof on there, which is very cost effective. But having the engineer strengthen the house so it can handle about 2 inches of rock gravel is very helpful. In a lot of cases, when the embers come and they hit the roof, even if you have a composite roof, which is usually petroleum based, even though it's a Class A roof, and of course, Big Oil pays a lot of money to get their products certified as Class A roof. Class A meaning it can withstand a fire. But over 10, 15 years, after the thin gravel wears off of a composite shingle roof, embers can hit the roof, and they can burn through the house and ignite the house from the inside out. So when you use roofing materials, either stone or slate, or if you put rock gravel ballast on the roof after the TPO or petroleum-based waterproof roof goes on, better yet, you use a more organic material. It's very helpful. And if the ember hits, it just kind of self-extinguishes and then doesn't become a hazard to burn through the roof. So that's another thing that we're doing. Let's see. For a lot of our overhangs, if we want a warm look, sometimes we want warm-looking materials. There's a lot of composite materials. We love real wood materials, real natural materials, but on the outside of the house, when you do eaves like this, keeping the eaves metal or ceramic are very helpful. And because what happens is when the fire comes, it comes in fast and hot, of course, it hits the bottom of the roofs and all that heat accumulates. So if that roof is either a ceramic or a metal, the eave or stucco, if we have a tighter budget, then once the fire consumes all the fuel around there, the fire just dissipates and the house is left standing. Or better yet, if you don't have eaves, that's even a more fire hardened roof like the other house we showed. So, architects, we do love eaves. That helps with the grandeur and the look of the house, but that is definitely something to consider. Most of these houses in Malibu and high fire hazard zone required sprinklers inside, which extinguish kitchen fires and things like that. But there's no fire sprinklers required on the outside. So we're actually putting, and Steve, that's one of the things we need to talk about with these is we putting basically soakers. So the event of a fire, the roof gets saturated with water. Very low technology. It's very low technology and doesn't cost a lot of money. But now the roof is wet. So again, when those embers hit, they self-extinguish as opposed to burning a hole through the roof and igniting the house from the inside. I'm really surprised that the codes have not required that. It seems like such a no-brainer to us in the design and construction industry, but it's definitely one of the elements. I can go on and on and on, but I think I've given enough information. But does that kind of give you a good sense, Gene, of what you were looking for in terms of an answer?
Oh, yes, but more than I expected, and thank you so
Okay.
much. It's
Yeah.
the obviously the metal and ceramic and some of these other approaches are important. A plant prefab is constructing from wood-based and composite-based sources, but I was impressed by their integration um, of metal, and they have a special unit there that I think I recognized. And I think also the hybrid panelization and modularity give you the flexibility to make those choices effectively.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a perspective on this too, but I want to give other people time for questions on other topics if we have them. If not, I'll come back. But any other questions?
Um, this is Susan. I don't have a question. My camera's not coming on. Um, but it's very interesting work, and I was going to get to like the questions about fire sprinklers. I have been designing a property. I'm an architect as well in Massachusetts, and I found out I have to put in a fire sprinkler system, and that is going to require also. So I'm kind of at a standstill because it's overwhelming to me. I also have a cabin in Northern California, and now I have California Fair Plan, and I've been going through several rounds of measures to fire harden the home so that the insurance will fully cover. And they still want more and more. Every time I do more, they want more. Um, so um, all of this in Malibu, right? There are no water tanks, right? They have their own hydrants and water in all of these hills, or are there tanks on site for the fire, the wildfire?
Sometimes, but water is a major problem in Malibu. All the infrastructure is decades old. It's all not adequate enough. And as you probably heard in the last Palisades fire, one of the three major reservoirs was bone dry,
Right. Hmm.
and that really added to it. A lot of our clients have stories where they were on the roofs of their own homes, spraying down their homes and neighbors, and all of a sudden they just ran out of water. But like pools, obviously act as water tanks. So the event that you actually get the fire department here, they can draft from the pool. It's very surprising every fire how understaffed these fire departments are. So we just assume that there's massive teams, and again, God bless them, they're out there risking their lives. But one of our family friends is a firefighter, and he was in town, and we said, "Why were you not fighting the firefighter?" He's like, "Well, we were supposed to stay in town to make sure if any other fires came out." I'm like, that seems ridiculous. Like there's one big fire everyone should be on, but it's really fascinating. They have to pick, these fire, they are so understaffed, under budget, unfunded budgets. And even in the event of fire and having pools that are existing, we'd be like, why didn't you use the water in the neighbor's pool? And then the fire departments would say, well, our captain said we had to pull off and we had to go elsewhere, and just understaffing in these fires. So yes, they ran out of water, but even the water that was there, they didn't even use it. A lot of the houses, some of these projects do have big water tanks underneath, big cisterns that store water underneath the ground. So that does occur out in Malibu, and some of our projects are required to do those, and then we of course recommend those to our clients, but obviously very expensive. The pool is the best water tank you can do because obviously it serves dual purpose. It's beautiful when you're not using it,
Hmm.
then when you are, And then, of course, in the event of a fire, if the fire department's there, then they can draft from it. But yeah,
Okay.
again, God bless fire, the firefighters. Um, but they do need water, and that's a big battle. Of course, they have our clients pay massive amounts of money to help upgrade the water systems. But when you live in these urban wildfire areas, uh, that's always the inherent risk, and it's expensive to develop there. And you know, these fires aren't going away. I mean, in California, power lines are still above the ground. These fires continue to happen. And as architects and designer built world, we do our best to kind of mitigate and to harden these homes, but nevertheless, it's just what we have to live with.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I'm energized by the number of homes that you showed that are getting permitted and that are along the PCH that are look like ready to go. It's
Yeah, yeah. We're really blessed. We have a lot of work, and we're really happy. We have really great clients. It's sad that it's kind of bittersweet. We're happy for the work, and we love to design at the same time. I mean, these victims lost their homes, and but it's really surprising what relatively good spirits they're in, and a lot of them are looking at the upside of now getting a brand new home. As sad as it is, I mean, a lot of our clients, they lived on the beach. You know, some of them lived on the beach their entire lives, and and they all have to rebuild. But in the end, the upside is they're all going to get brand new, better homes. A lot of them are using California Fair Plan, which some cases is working out, in other cases it's not. But that's a whole other insurance topic. But um, uh, the good thing is a lot of our clients actually did have proper insurance, which is definitely helping the process for them.
Any
Question.
questions? Yeah.
So, switching a little bit on the, I was an engineer working on pre-visualization tools at Autodesk. I worked on, and at Silicon Graphics, where we did some sort of building simulation technology, design technology. And I saw the one bluff house that you had done a animated rendering, and I'm curious how you, in the process of your design build, especially work with, for example, um, um, prefab factory on that, because you got a client to support and to meet their expectations and even get them to buy in certain ways. And they're obviously using some of those tools. It seems to me that both pre-visualization and simulation are important technologies to include in the design build process. And so I'm curious to know how you approach that.
And Christopher, keep it brief because I do want to end on time. We've got like 6 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we use various tools. We also employ AI, but yeah, renderings and visualizations are extremely important and valuable in communicating our designs to our clients, and imperative actually. So again, and when we go to production in the factory, this is basically it's a digital twin. So what's in the computer, obviously it's a simulation, but is the idea is it's an identical replica to what we're building in the factory.
It is amazing. And I did participate with Steve in another webinar around the using AI. And so that's a fascinating aspect. We're working on some carbon footprinting with AI and some other things. And I think it's, again, just like you said, applying technology in a realistic but also maintaining aesthetic qualities is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a question from Vera Worlds Arnold. And I'm not sure if this was a joke, but do you design beautiful, affordable housing? Uh, I mean, I think what Christopher shared is beautiful. It is housing. affordable, if you mean literally, people who are income restrained, that's not the housing you saw today. But we certainly have worked on affordable housing. We did a great project with Brooke Scarpa that opened a couple of months ago in Santa Monica. So you can go to our website and see that we do affordable housing. And Christopher, have you done affordable housing?
Yeah, I mean that student housing down in Los Angeles, there was there was an affordable housing component to that, and
Great.
then of course for the students, I mean it is USC, so it's it's an expensive university, so there it was high design. However, but there was an affordable housing component to that
Awesome.
student housing project. Yes.
Awesome. Um, any other quick questions? We got 3 minutes. Well, really appreciate you attending tonight. As I said, we do weekly tours. You're welcome to come out and see us. They're typically on Tuesday. You can write Steve at plantprefab.com and I can get you to the right person. Christopher is available to talk to about projects. Christopher, what's your email?
Uh, Essay at sorensenarchitects.com.
Awesome. Really appreciate you joining us tonight, Christopher. And again, we just couldn't be happier with the work we're doing together. Can't wait to get it installed. Can't wait for your clients to move in. I mean, the one, as you said, it's unfortunate circumstances, but the one thing that we both can feel good about is that we are going to help people get back to really high quality, incredibly well designed and thought out homes that are sustainable and climate resilient, and we're going to do that faster and more cost efficiently than a traditional process. So I feel good about that. I know you feel good about that. So
Absolutely.
thank you all again for joining us, and hopefully we'll be able to meet you in the future if we haven't already. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.